Hey guys, Dan here, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm actually going to show you how I create my video content for YouTube. Um, so right off the bat, I'll confess that I have no formal education in film, in editing, in photography, or just about anything else that you see me creating content for. Everything that I know is basically self-taught through trial and error. So I'd like to be able to share my experience with you. If you are interested, perhaps starting your own YouTube channel, consider this video to be a primer, a way of finding your starting point. So the software that I use is free software. It's probably not the, I'd say it's probably not the best. It definitely isn't the best, but hey, it's free and I've learned how to use it and get comfortable with it. So that software is called VSDC. And it's a free video editor. You can go to Google and track down a copy of your own. We are going to create a new project from scratch. Well, I say scratch, but the reality is I already have content for this video. I've already taken 2 videos and I, of course, have my lead in, my outro as well. You'll, of course, need to come up with all that content on your own for your own project, but it's not hard, and I trust that you'll be able to come up with something interesting. So we're going to go ahead and label this project with its name. This is going to be the Zaku head, and it's simply a rotating video of my Zaku head. So I'll go ahead and finish, and it gives us this wonderful blank canvas here. So we need to start somewhere, and for me that typically starts with the intro. Now we need to go up, we're obviously in the editor ribbon, we need to select an object and we're going to start with a video. Now I already have my intro ready, so we're going to go ahead and select that and then place it in the document. This determines the position for the file. I typically just put it wherever and then you can always drag it around if you need to. You can see here it now appears on the timeline and obviously it's filled in up here. And if we hit the preview button, it'll, well, of course, play. Now, there's one thing that I like to do whenever we transition from video clip to video clip or scene to scene, and that's just a simple fade. It breaks down the sudden scene transition and just makes it a little less jarring for the viewer. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. And it's something we're going to be doing a couple times in this video, so if you don't get it on the first time, don't worry about it. You'll see it again. We're going to right-click on the object that we want to add an effect to, select the video effects, and then transparency. And we're going to select fade out. Now, you can set yours up just like I have mine here. I'm going to set my duration for ½ second. You can, of course, go longer or shorter depending on what sort of effect you would like. But I typically find that about ½ second is enough for a smooth scene transition. So now if we play the video, you'll see that it fades out at the end. Of course, there's nothing else in the document, so it just fades to black, but we'll change that in a moment here. So we're going to go ahead now and grab the main content for the video. So we're going to need to come up here to the video effects and, to the add object and select our video files. So we're going to go ahead and select the Zaku Head MP, Mass Production 1 and 2. And it takes a moment to add the files here. And what you can do here is you can grab your files and drag them around to whatever order you would like. Right now I'm happy with 1 being in front and 2 being in the rear. And we can also add effects between our scene transitions. So I'm going to go ahead and select fade out here. This is similar to what we did in the by right-clicking on our first part, but we can just drag and drop here. Makes things a little bit easier. And now this has created a sprite file. So this sprite is just a collection of those 2 video images, just an easier way for us to stay organized. So we'll go ahead and double-click on the sprite, and we can see our 2 video files here. Now there are a couple of things that I'd like to do with these video files. I record with a camera that has onboard audio. And typically I'm watching YouTube or talking to my wife or doing something else in the room, and that's audio that doesn't need to be in the video. So we need to strip the audio out of these video files. And you can do that really easily by by selecting your file and then coming over to the properties window and selecting the audio track, and then just saying don't use audio. We're going to do that for both sections. So now these two are without audio, so this section is completely silent. This is a good way if you're going to do post commentary and record your voice talking over a video. You can just strip the audio out of the first video and then add your commentary onto it, and there you go. Very simple way of doing that. The other thing we're going to do is, you notice the head is rotating very slowly, because this is how quickly it rotates in real life. But that's boring. So what I typically do is I up the speed. So the kit appears to be rotating more quickly. And we can do that by going over to the properties window and highlighting the speed percentage and then changing it. So by upping the speed to 300%, we have now effectively cut the video to a third of the original size. We're going to do that with the second. And now we have two smaller video chunks. But you notice now we have these blank spots in our video, which is not good. So what we can do is simply grab and drag our video chunks to where they need to be, and then we need to adjust the overall length of our sprite. If you don't do that, the sprite will still be the original length, and if you don't correct that, you'll have a big blank canvas at some point during your video. But now we have our two sections, and if we go ahead and preview, you can now see that the head is rotating much more quickly. There should be a scene transition at some point in here. And there it is. Oh! Look at that. I must have reached in and adjusted the head at some point. So we need to cut that out of our video. So I'm going to show you how you can edit individual chunks of your video down. So this occurred in the second chunk of the video, so we're going to go ahead and select that, and then come over to our properties and select cutting and splitting. Now this brings up another timeline. You can see this is back to operating at 100% speed, so normal speed, and that's fine. We're going to stop the video right there, and we're going to come up here to our bar and hit start selection, and come down to our timeline, drag it all the way to the beginning, and hit end selection. So now we've highlighted this portion of the video, and we're going to go ahead and cut this region right out. So now the video starts later, and you don't have my big dumb hand reaching in there and making an adjustment mid-recording. So let's go ahead and hit apply changes. It's going to ask us if we want to adjust the duration, and yes we do. Okay, and now we're going to drag our timeline to the end of the video, or end of the sprite. And now when we transition, there we go. We transition without my hand reaching in and making any adjustments. So now that we're done editing the sprite, we can exit out. And here is our sprite now. If we come back to the beginning of our timeline, hit preview, you're going to notice that our introduction is not visible. And the reason for that is your video has layers, much like Photoshop or Illustrator, and you need to manage those layers. So generally, the higher the object is in the layer command, the lower it is in the video. So if I put the sprite here above the video, that means the video will be playing, the intro will be playing on top of the sprite. So now we can see our intro. But we don't necessarily want the video playing over the sprite, because otherwise this video is no longer visible. So let's go ahead and simply drag this out. And if we move our timeline up here, there we go. It transitions nicely from the intro to our video. Now we also need to add our outro to this video. So I'm going to go ahead and add another object. In this case, my outro is just a still image. So let's go ahead and add this. Oh, that's the old outro. So let's go back. You can always delete your layers just like that. Let's try that again. So here is our new outro. And let's go ahead and set the duration here. We're going to go 15 seconds because YouTube allows us to have a 15-second outro. Oh, I'm sorry, I just adjusted where it shows up in the timeline. That is the duration here. This is what we actually need to adjust. So I add 15000 for 15 seconds. And the reason why I use 15 is that's the typical length of the outro that YouTube allows for your video. So if you do an end cap where you have, for example, links to your website or Patreon or Twitter or anything else, you can use that space at the end of the video for that purpose. And it pays to have a some sort of still image or a simple video playing so that people can see and interact with your links. So now we've added that. And just like before, we should add some sort of scene transition here, so we're not just violently transitioning between scenes like it's going to do here in a second, like that. I would rather have that fade in, so we can select our outro here, right-click, video effects, transparency, and then fade in. Similar to the fade out, I set it for a ½ second. And now, when we preview, much better. Just fades in nicely. So pretty good so far, right? We've learned how to create a simple video with an intro and an outro, how to transition between our scenes, how to edit the speed at which our scenes play, how to remove the audio, and how to cut down individual video files. Let's do one more thing before we wrap up the video, though. We need to add some music to this video because there's no audio otherwise, and without audio people tend to get a little bit bored. So we're going to go back to Add Object, and we're going to select an audio file that I have for this video. Again, just select the position. You're going to notice that, however, the audio file is longer than the total length of the video. And this is pretty common, but it's not a huge deal. You just come back here and grab the audio file and you drag it to where you want it. In this case, I'm going to drag it to the very end of the video. And like with the scene transition, I like to fade my audio out at the end of the video. So we're going to go to Audio Effects, then Amplitude, and then Fade Out. And here, just a 2-second duration. And let's go ahead and listen to how that fades out. Nice. Okay. So you may be wondering, hey, where can I get audio files that I don't have to worry about the Google Content ID capturing me? And I'm going to show you how to do that in a second here. Okay. So if you have a YouTube account, you can go to your Creator Studio, and then in the bar to the left here, you can come down to the Create button and then select Audio Library. This is basically where you can get any sort of license-free music or music that you essentially have permission to use without worrying about the Content ID cops coming for you. There are plenty of ways to sort through this between what type of music you want, how long you need it to be, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The one thing you do need to pay attention to is the attribution. Some artists here do require you to put a little blurb into your video saying, who made the audio. So just keep that in mind when you're selecting audio for your video. But in this case, the video or the audio I selected has no attribution, so we can just put it into our video and not worry about any of that stuff. And now we essentially have a completed video. The last thing that we need to do to take this video file and make it into, or this video project and make it into a viewable video file is we need to export it, which is as simple as coming over to the export project, selecting how we want to export it. For me, that means a .avi, and basically exporting it as such. So we're going to go ahead and export it. You'll get this little pop-up here. Basically, with this software, unfortunately, the free version, you don't get the benefit of hardware acceleration if you have a chip that can do hyperthreading, for example. I don't have an i7 chip, so it's nothing I need to worry about, and typically my video files are not that complex. Just go ahead and hit continue, and it's going to take some while to think and export the video. Now, I do actually already have a completed video, and when you export it, it will just appear like this. So now we've created our file. You can upload this to YouTube and go out and, you know, start a following. So I hope this video serves as a good introduction for you to start your own video projects on YouTube. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I have no experience, no technical training or education in film or editing or really anything that I do related to Gunpla other than making the models. So if you're just starting out, you're not really sure how to make your videos and get them on YouTube and do at least a little bit of editing to them. I hope this has served as an introduction, a primer, a way to set your course. That being said, you know, I'm not using the highest tier software. I'm not, you know, using an extraordinarily expensive camera. You can make wonderful projects with free software, with a camera on your phone, with the most basic of materials. So if you've been sitting on the fence and you're not really sure if you should try this video thing, you know what? Just jump in and give it a shot. The worst that could happen is you waste a day or two. But it's really not that hard. There's a lot of good tutorials and other material out there, and I hope that this video has inspired you to give something a try. Just give the editors a try and try to go off there in a different direction. So thank you very much for checking out the video, guys. I appreciate you if you watched it all the way to the end, and I hope you take this information and create something awesome. Thanks for watching the video all the way to the end. Take care of yourselves. Dan out.